Come on. Come on. Four. I don't need four people. I need you to help me. We're going to do this. And everybody's going to do it simultaneously. Put four fingers up, four fingers up, four fingers up. And I want to give you our passage this morning. It's out of James 4, if you can imagine that. Now, stay with me. Don't write down yet, because I'm helping you. You don't even have to write it. It's right here on your fingers. James 4. Come near to God. Let's do it together. Come near to God. Where's it found, James? What? Pretty simple. We're going to keep it simple this morning. Come near to God. Where's it found, James? 4. All right, you got it? Come near to God. Come near to God. James 4, come near to God. That's not gather information about God, go to a place that talks about God. That's for you. Come near to God. Say it with me again. Come near to God. In other words, if you were to take those 4 words and bring them into one word, a word that didn't exist in the English language until 1946, you would take those 4 words and you'd sum them up into one word that we decided as English speakers that we would add to our vocabulary, and that was the word engage. Engage. Come near to God. Engage. But engage was the word that came out of World War II history, where the English people from Britain and from the United States recognized that war could never have been won without French people who were part of the resistance, who were, in their French word, they were engaging. Engage meant to do whatever it took to get into that space and into that place that would make an impact difference. And so they watched these French people who were taking dangerous, bold, adventurous steps. Some of them were little old ladies. Some of them were children on bicycles. They were from all walks of life, but they were all a part of that French resistance who was saying, we will engage. We will come near to where things need to happen, and we'll engage. But God is saying to you, if you want things to happen in your life, you have to engage. You have to what? Come, say it with me, come near to God. There was a cartoon that was existent about that time as well. It was a cartoon strip that only a few people in this room might remember, Lil Abner. And Lil Abner was a cartoon strip that this guy kept creating and having fun with, and it was really affecting society in North America. So much so that this guy started having fun with the guy who was Sadie Hawkins' father, who carried a gun. And he had an ugly daughter named Sadie. This girl was, in the cartoon strip, probably the ugliest human you'd ever seen. But her daddy loved her. And he loved her so much that he declared there was going to be a day called Sadie Hawkins Day. And on that day, he pulled out his gun and he told all the young guns, all the young guys, lay down your weapons. You're going to be the runners today. And if my lickety-split, faster than lightning daughter Sadie catches you, you're hers. In the cartoon strip, you could see all the panic. You could see it. The cartoonist had a lot of fun showing the panicked young men, all these athletes that were trying to gear up and ready, because at the start of her dad's gun, she was going to start running, and whoever she caught, he was hers. Well, in North America, as they read the cartoon strip, some of the women liked that idea because about that time, it seemed like the men were always in charge. And they liked the idea that we could flip that thing around and we could maybe create something called Sadie Hawkins Day, where the women were in charge for a day. And do you know what happened? It took across our nation, on college campuses, in towns. When Sadie Hawkins Day came, the women were in charge that day, and there would be Sadie Hawkins races. I know this history very well because I remember my parents telling me about a Sadie Hawkins race at their college, where at that Sadie Hawkins race, my dad would snicker telling me the story about Betty, who was unfortunately, the most homely girl on their campus. But she was so excited about Sadie Hawkins Day. She didn't have a chance all year, but this was her chance. And he said in his dormitory was an athlete named Don Simpson, who was a great athlete, and every girl on campus was interested. But what everybody knew is that Betty was a fast runner. And Don was sweating bullets for weeks on end. He was sweating bullets. He was so nervous about Sadie Hawkins' day arriving. And when it arrived, and the young men started forming a line, what he noticed, and he noticed she had brand new running shoes on. I mean, she was committed. And with her brand new running shoes, she was looking, where's Don Simpson? And she saw him, and she adjusted where she was at in the women's line. She was directly behind him. My dad said just almost right at the end, Don jumped the line and went all to the end. And she said, doesn't matter, I'm going to catch you, Don Simpson. And the sound of the gun, and Don Simpson went running, and Betty went running after him. Don Simpson was so afraid he couldn't outrun her that he had an idea. He saw a distant tree. He ran toward that tree. He was a good climber, and he climbed, lickety-split, limb by limb by limb by limb, up to the top of the tree. He thought he'd conquered. But you know what Betty did? She got to the tree. She outsmarted Don, and she sat down. She said, Don Simpson, I'll sit here all day if I have to. You'll eventually get tired of hanging onto that limb up there. And when you come down, I got you. You're mine. The whole campus was laughing like crazy, except for one couple who really hadn't hardly seen the event, because one young strapping guy was in that line, and he noticed that one of the girls hadn't lined up in the girls' line. She's sitting in this room this morning, and she didn't want to participate. She'd grown up in an orphanage. She knew what it was like to be overlooked and undervalued, and she just didn't really like the whole idea of all of this. It just felt a little ugly to her. She just didn't want to participate, but he was really interested. He'd been eyeing her up for a while, and so he looked over to where she was at, and he stepped out of the guy's line for a minute and said, "Aren't you going to participate, Agnes?" She said, "No, I don't want to have a part in this. I'm not going to do this." And he said, well, why not? And she said she couldn't think of anything to say, so she just said, I have heart problems. Well, she didn't really have physical heart problems, but she did have a heart inside that was still struggling with a life that she had to get over, that she's written about in a book called 10 Finger Prayers. It's out on the table out here. What she remembers is his pleading eyes looking at her saying, Agnes, if you'll get in line, you just say stop and I'll stop. He got over in line and he saw her coming over and he adjusted so it was a little easier, just a little easier for her, till she was so close in the women's line it wasn't going to be hard at all. And he turned to her one more time and said, Psst, if you run, you'll catch me. I asked my mom, who's in the room this morning at 95 years of age, I said, Mom, how far did you have to run to catch him? She said 2 steps. What did he do? What did he do? He made engagement easier on her. Come near to me. Psst. You run. I'll let you catch me. And that engaged moment turned into, they'll celebrate 72 years of marriage on Friday. Now, I would tell you that life is not made of the hopes or dreams you have, but it's made of the choices that you make and the engagements that you choose. The things that you decide, I am going to lock on, hold on, I'm going to go after, I'm going to pursue, I'm going to engage. I'm going to engage. And I want to propose to you that there is a choice that's the paramount imperative for your life, if your life's ever to become full of meaning and purpose. And it's choose to engage your first finger. Put it up. Engage Jesus. Say it with me. Engage Jesus. One more time. Engage Jesus. Because if you want to come near to God, you want to engage Jesus. Engage who? Listen, I don't know who or what has captured your attention in life. Might have been once he was the attention of your life. But somewhere along the line, he ceased to be number. What? Number one. That's your first finger. Number one. Number one. Yeah, that's your outline. I'm helping you out here. Choose to engage Jesus. How would I engage Jesus? Well, it might take a little effort on your part, but can you hear him saying, if you run, I'll let you catch me. He really wants to be caught. But he just waits for you to do what? Come on, to come near to God. He wants to see the intent of your heart, the intent of your will, the pursuit of your life. He's ready to be the pursuee. He wants you to be the pursuer. That's why when it wasn't Betty sitting at the bottom of a tree, but it was a woman in Luke 10, she just sat down. Her sister was busy with a bunch of important stuff to make sure hospitality was going to happen the way it ought to happen, but she sat down because she wanted to engage Jesus. So she sat down, and her busy sister Martha in Luke chapter 10 said, well, Jesus, you ought to get her working and doing some stuff with me, because we always believe that we're going to change the world and impact people by all the doing that we're going to go do. And Jesus said, no, she's chosen. Chosen. The switch tracks of life are the choices that you make. It's not the hopes you have or the dreams. It's the paramount choices you make. And if you choose to engage Jesus, do you know what he said about Mary? He said, she has chosen what is better. She has chosen what is better. That would have been like you walking the cafeteria line. In the Greek language, that was like walking a buffet of food, and you're looking at everything because you only got so much room, and you're going to choose the very best thing. And he said, she has chosen what is better. There are distractions in life that are great. Wonderful. Did you know that God's the giver of every good and perfect gift? James tells us in an earlier chapter of his writings, he's the giver of every good and perfect gift. He's benevolent, and he pours out great gifts. I'd like to think, Dawn, where are you at? Yeah. Stand up. This is my amazing, amazing wife. And so I'm her husband. Now, I would hope, because for all our years of marriage, 37, I really want to be one of God's good gifts to her. But honey, can I just ask you, like, what category am I in? What would you say about me? Who am I? Who am I? Listen. Did you hear that? I'm her number one, second love. You know why? Because her number one love is Jesus. You cannot do life a different way. You'll be a lousy spouse. You'll be a terrible friend. You'll be an awful father or mother if you are allowing anyone else to be in the number one position. He was kind of crazy about his dad for some odd reason. And when I would go on trips, we would work so hard as a couple to try to prepare him for the fact that dad was going to be gone, because it felt like his world fell apart. He just hated it when dad was gone. But he loved it when I came home. One time he came tearing up he didn't hear me come in. He came tearing up the stairs into the closet. He said, Dad, now that you're home, everything's better. And I said, no, it was fine while I was gone. I'm sure it was great while I was gone. He said, no, Dad, everything's better now that you're home. And I said, well, I'm glad you feel that way about me, son. I love you so much. Gave him a hug. And he said, Dad, next phrase, I'm trying to love God more than I love you. And I said, well, son, that's the aim. He said, I know, you tell me that all the time. You tell me that all the time, Dad. And I'm trying. I remember at age 17 when I was leaving his room one night, and I was done with our little talk, and I went to leave, and he said, Dad, oh, one more thing. I just need to tell you, I love God more than I love you. He's my number one love. My son went into the Marines after that. My son he's lived a whole lot of life at age 26. There's been a whole lot come at him. But I will tell you, this has been the difference maker. Choose to engage Jesus. To do what? To engage Jesus. Engage Jesus. Jim Cymbala said it this way: you're always drawing near or you're falling away. There's no holding pattern. You're always either drawing near or falling away. There's no holding pattern. That would be said a different way in Romans 12, verse 11, where it says, never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. I can remember, and we're here from all different parts of the country. Somebody asked me last night, what geographical part of the country did you grow up in? And I said, well, in the state next to yours. You grew up in New York. I grew up in Pennsylvania. In my part of Pennsylvania, people were very stoic. They didn't really show a lot of emotion. There wasn't a lot of outward expression of emotions, except you wouldn't even know they were the same people. When you walked into a gymnasium where there was a wrestling match, or you went to a football field, and suddenly these people went wild. It was like that was the place where they gave themselves permission to be zealous and passionate. I saw those same people at church. I remember my friend Johnny. Johnny's mom, I was Dwight the Fright. I was restless. I was always looking around, and I can remember seeing Johnny's mom. She always sat there just like this. I don't think she ever moved a muscle for an hour of church. But boy, I went to the gymnasium for a wrestling match when Johnny's older brother Keith was wrestling. She was so wild and crazy, I didn't even know who she was. I started getting embarrassed for her, like she should be embarrassed. And then when I saw the referees come and they took my friend Johnny's mother out of the gymnasium, and they had an escort to keep her outside the gym while her son was wrestling, I went, now there is a passionate woman. Choose your number one passion as engaging Jesus. When Romans 12:11 says, never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord, recognize that there are categories in your life where maybe that's happening, but is it this category? It should be. It can be. And by the way, I want to tell you what I learned, even growing up in stoic, non-moving, unemotional Western Pennsylvania. I learned how to enjoy God, how to enjoy Him, how to love Him, and sometimes be loud with Him, and sometimes move with Him. In Him we live and move and have our being. And I went, oh my word, God, I never knew. Somehow I never knew you meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to be enjoyed. But some of us, our greatest obstacle is we don't want to look awkward or ridiculous. Oh, unless that's sports, or our favorite music band, or our grandchild playing t-ball. We're willing to look ridiculously crazy, zealous, full of fervor in other categories. But I want to encourage you to engage Jesus. God's always had this problem with people who really don't engage. They kind of nod. He spoke through his prophet Isaiah in 29:13, and he said, these people come near me with their lips. They honor me with their mouths, but their hearts are far from me. Their worship of me is made up of rules taught by men. Isaiah 29:13. But you think, well, then eventually probably he got his point across and people began to engage his son when he came. But you get to the book of Revelation, chapter 2, and some of the people who are just running such a great race, but all of a sudden they're so busy doing other things that in Revelation 2, he says to them, I don't know, you've lost your first love. The love you had at first, please consider how far you've fallen and do the things you did at first. I love seeing brand new. Whoo! It's like, I get so excited last night. If I made a little bit of noise, I get excited when new spiritual life is happening. I got excited in the birthing room with our two kids and when they were being born into biological life, and I get excited when spiritual life is happening in a room. I just get so excited, and I love being near new Christians who are just, on fire. But I also love being near Christians who've walked with Him for 95 years, Mom, and you're as on fire today as you've ever been. We walked to the room last night down that hallway, and you're fiery hard after Him. You're engaging Jesus. That can be a lifetime commitment. It's a decision of the will to choose to what? engage Jesus. It's not about gauging information about him. It's not about information about him. Some of you, be careful. Your heads are such a strong part of who you are. You love the mind stuff. Out of your heart. Out of your heart. Your mouth is going to speak. Out of your heart, your life is going to be lived. You're to love him with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, but don't leave your heart out of the equation. To engage Jesus is a passion of heart. It's an intent of the will. I can remember watching guys who were in love, and I was young, and I'd think, I was a little guy, and I was just, look at how ridiculous they look, and how I walked into my college dorm room, and it smelled like a girl's room, and I said to my friend who I was rooming with at the time, who's very invested in this ministry, and I said, Chuck, what do I smell? It's not you. You have so many dirty clothes in this room. It's not you. And this is not my room. What am I doing? And he didn't say anything. He just smiled. I walked over and, nope, it's not you. Where is this coming from? And it was in the corner, and there's a big box. I said, what's in that box? He said, a dozen roses. I said, a dozen roses? Well, a dozen roses? Where'd you get money for a dozen roses? What are you going to do with those? How much did you spend on those? He said, $25. Now, that's in the day. $25. That's $25. We're praying about our college bills, and you spend $25. Are you crazy, Chuck? Those roses are going to be dead. Who are you going to give them to? They'll be dead in 2 weeks. Who are you going to? I'm thinking logically, at this point, like, come on, get a brain. Your brain dead? Come on. I said, those flowers are going to be dead in 2 weeks. Who is this for? He told me it was for. I said, what if that relationship doesn't last? Like, that was a wasted investment. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? He looked at me with this kind of, I don't know, more educated than I was, grin, and he said, I guess you don't understand. You're probably never been in love yet. I said, whoa. That was until second semester. Then $25 wasn't enough. It's amazing what love will cause you to do. Engage Jesus. Now, I want you to put your second finger up with that first finger. Engage Jesus. And I want you to wrap that finger around Jesus. And I want you to know the second point here is not only to engage Jesus, but it's to do life with Jesus. Do life with Jesus. Do life with Jesus. With him. Say the word with. Yeah. Some of us do it about, but the goal is do life with Jesus. Do you know when Jesus called 12, this is, so you note takers, Mark 3:14, when Jesus called 12 ordinary people like us, who he wanted to impact the world with, Jesus appointed the 12 that they should be, anybody know? That they should be what? It's pretty easy here. That they should be what? With him. With him. Why would that matter? Because when you are doing life with Jesus, all kinds of crazy things start happening. You start learning from him. You start thinking the way he would have you think. You start moving in with him on his agenda. All we know is that they did life with Jesus for 3 years. And by the time you get to Acts chapter 4, verse 13, there's two of these guys that they were just on their way to a meeting at the synagogue. Their names were Peter and John, and they were on their way to a meeting. And then there was some guy that was begging for money, and they could see him. And so they stopped for a minute with this guy that they could see. And as they stopped, he asked them, do you have any silver or gold? And they said, we don't have any. But then it hit them as they were spending time with him that what they had, they said and they offered him Jesus, because they were doing life with Jesus. Jesus had gone back to the Father, but he had told them, I'll always be with you. I'll always be with you. So they offered him Jesus. The next thing you knew, there was a holy riot that breaks out in Jerusalem. This guy is so impacted by the fact that they have brought who they're with to him that he's jumping up and down for joy. He's so excited. He's running all over telling everybody. Before you know it, there's thousands of people being added as Christ followers, and some really important guys who had the power in their court call Peter and John in, and they are going to take them to task. They do an inquisition. You know what they said about them? They said, because it was so curious, they couldn't quite understand. They said, They haven't been to college and university. They haven't been to seminary. They're unschooled. But they've what? They've been with Jesus. I want you to know this is the secret of your life. It's the secret going for you. You've got to be careful about thinking this is a little thing. Shahid, where you are. So I want to walk you through a day in the life. So I'm going to walk you through a day in the life. And so, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but oh my word. My alarm didn't go off. What happened? What happened? Oh my word, I'm never going to make it. I'm yelling down the, Dawn, no breakfast, there's no time. I don't even have time to read I don't have time. I'm sorry, I don't have time. And I'm racing out the door. Sorry, honey, I can't even give you, I gotta go. I get in the car and I'm on my way. And then I realize all the lights had turned green. Oh my word, how did that happen? I just picked up enough minutes for me to do a quick stop at Starbucks. But I get to Starbucks and the car line is way too long. This won't work. I'm going to run inside. So I run inside and I get inside and there's my friend Josh. And Josh is telling me that somebody in his family just got cancer. And I'm going, Josh, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get to work. I'm so sorry. And so I see you, Josh. See, have a great day. We always say that. Have a great day. So have a great day, Josh. Have a great day. And then I finally get to work and I'm with my work friends and we're having a great time. And there comes that one that, he is so hard for me to deal with. I cannot. He makes life miserable. If he was out of here, work would be better. Oh, here he comes. Hello. Oh, man. I can't wait to get to lunch. I'm going to have lunch with my friends. I'm so excited. I have a lunch with my friends, and I'm having lunch with my friends, and we're having such a great time, and I'm so happy to see my friends. We have an hour together. We've all come from our workplaces, and we're having a really great time at lunch, and then I have to say goodbye and good luck, and as they're facing some stuff at work, they just told me about at lunch, some really hard stuff. I get back to work, and I get through work, and I can't wait to get to the gym, because at the gym are my workout buddies. Come on, workout buddies. You three workout buddies, you're my workout buddies. Come on. It's workout time. So these are my workout buddies, and my workout buddies they're going to work out with me. So come on, guys. Come on. What are you doing back here? Come on up here. So we're working out, and come on, we're gonna bench some stuff, and we're working out. And when all of a sudden one of my friends says, hey, things are really rough where I'm at, and I don't think we're going to make it. I don't know how we're going to pay our bills. And I think life's about to fall apart. Dude, I'm so sorry. I mean, that's heavy. Ooh, so sorry. Yeah, okay, yeah. That's heavy. Well, I think we've worked out enough. Let's call it a day, guys. Thank you so much for working out with me. Man, you're the best. Let's give those guys a hand. I get home and my wife is fixing, she is just an amazing lover through food. Like when you eat food at my wife's table, you're feeling loved on. And so I'm enjoying my food, but I tell her I've got a really important night because I've got a ton of work to do because I've got a major meeting tomorrow that is going to make or break the promotion. 10 o'clock tomorrow, honey. Man, it's a big deal. I'm going to be working most of the night trying to get ready for that. And all of a sudden, I'm done with my prep. Oh man, I'm going to need help tomorrow. 10 o'clock's a big deal. That's a big deal. I'm going to need big help. And hey, Jesus, I'm going to need you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I need you to be there at 10 o'clock tomorrow. 10 o'clock tomorrow, I need you. It's my first conversation all day. He's been with me, but I haven't been with him. I've ignored him all day. I missed opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. When Josh told me what was going on, I could have said, Josh, I got 20 seconds. Let's pull off here. Jesus and you and me, we're together. Josh needs some help here. He's facing some hard stuff. I get to work and I see the dude, I'm having trouble with Jesus. Oh, help me. I don't have the love in my heart, but I know you pour love, Romans 5:5. You could pour love in my heart for that guy that's making life hard for me. Pour your love into my heart. I can have that conversation. Suddenly I'm smiling at him because the one who's with me always is helping me. I get with my friends and we didn't even pause to thank Jesus that he's been providing food for us. And even at the end of our lunch, hey, listen, guys, you're facing some hard stuff. Let's just take a minute. Jesus, we're all facing some hard stuff at work. Would you please help us with those things? Why didn't I include him in our lunch? Why did he sit there through the whole lunch? And he wasn't involved and included because I pretended he wasn't there, but he was. Do life with Jesus. I got to the gym and Hudson told me hard times. I'm at the gym. I'm not at church. But I could have turned to Hudson and say, Hudson, let's just pause for a minute. Jesus, they're facing hard times. And you've told us to come to you and bring things to you. And we're bringing this to you right now. Why did I wait till 10 o'clock at night to have my first conversation of the day when he's with me all day long? Practice the presence of Jesus. Shahid, thank you. It's a simple little illustration, but too few people understand. That's why they've read a 400-year-old classic called Practicing the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence. Some of you in the room who've read that book, that was a big help to you to begin to try to learn how to do life with. It's a conscious awareness that he's with you. Don't leave him alone. Don't leave him out. Don't ignore him. You know how you would feel if you said you'd hang out with me all day and I never talked to you once until that night at 10 o'clock? How would you feel? Bring him into your day. Bring him into the moments of your day. Do life with Jesus. Don't just engage Jesus, but do life with Jesus. There's a kind of intimate engagement that is forged in regular days that you will need in the future to endure. There's a kind of intimate engagement with Jesus, that's forged in the midst of regular days that you will need in future days to endure. Do you get that? There's a kind of intimate engagement that is forged during regular days with Jesus that you will need for future days to endure. Let's pick up your third finger. Pick up your third finger. Come on, everybody. Come on. Nobody gets to be sophisticated enough. You're not doing this too. Come on. Your third finger. Let's do a quick review. You want to engage Jesus. You want to do life with Jesus. And now you want to know that others will be impacted when you do. Others will be impacted when you do. Your third finger represents others. Others will be impacted when you do. What do I mean by that? Oh, let me tell you a little quick story. Frank Kluwer got up one morning. He's in Warrnambool, Australia, and I've been there plenty of times, and there are moments where it can be very brisk in the morning. On that particular morning, Frank Kluwer walked out of his door and he went, whoa, whoo, it's cold. He went back in, grabbed a wool sweater and pulled on the wool sweater, and then he stepped out again and went, whoa, it's windy cold. I need my windbreaker. So he pulled his nylon wind jacket over top of the wool sweater, and he left the house. As Frank Kluwer left the house, he didn't think about the nylon jacket and the wool sweater interacting with each other. All he knew was he had a lot of things to do today, and he had quite a list he was making his way through. But as Frank was going place to place running errands that morning, his nylon jacket and his wool sweater were just developing a little friction, a little something that was happening between those two pieces of garment. He was completely clueless and very unaware of what was happening until he walked in the bank building just a little before noon. This hit the UP, this hit every news outlet on the planet. Frank walked in a bank building, and the people who tell the story said some of them started smelling smoke. What is that? And one of them noticed that there were footprints on the nylon carpet, that the nylon carpet was melted underneath. And nobody could figure out. One of them got down to examine it and burst into flames. A teller in the bank screamed, and they started hollering, call 911, and soon fire trucks were headed toward the bank building. Frank Kluwer, meanwhile, was outside counting his money. He figured it all out. He was getting in his car. As he went to get in his car, as he went to move his foot across the rubber mat to where he wanted to reposition it, it stuck to the rubber mat, and as he pulled it up, rubber was coming off his shoe, and it freaked him. What in the world is going on with my car? What's going on with my car? He stepped back and stepped out, and whoa, what in the world? He grabbed a fireman that was standing out there while the others were running into the building and said, you better come look at my car. Something's going on with my car. The fireman came over and had quick wit to realize, because he'd already been inside and trying to examine what was going on, he'd seen footprints inside that were the same size as these footprints on the rubber mat inside the car. He ran over to the fire truck and pulled out a static electricity field meter, brought it over to Frank Kluwer and held it up to Frank Kluwer, and discovered that Frank Kluwer had 40,000 volts of static electricity in his body. They quickly helped get the nylon jacket off him. That nylon jacket actually hung in the fire yard that evening, and they said it snapped, crackled, popped all night. And no one who read this story could begin to conceive that Frank Kluwer was going all over the place, completely unaware that he housed 40,000 volts of static electricity. Let me tell you something. When you do life with Jesus, you need to know you are carrying around more than 40,000 volts of static electricity. Christ in you, the hope of glory, the others around you. That's why the French philosopher François de Sales said, if Christ is in you, if you are with Christ, he will show up in your gestures. He will show up in your eyes. He will show up in your mouth until it will be true of you as was true of the Apostle Paul. I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. Your greatest witness, so many of you are worried about your words. Your greatest witness is your witness. When you are with Jesus, it impacts the people all around, everywhere you go, at a level you could never have begun to imagine. That's why at Forge we say over and over and over again, you can find bookmarks out there free on the table that says the greatest gift you will ever give this world, all these others near your life, is your what? Intimacy with God. That's the greatest gift you'll give your grandchildren, your children, your spouse, your friends, teachers you don't even know. I remember, I couldn't even imagine how this could happen. I remember my 8th grade teacher looking at me and saying to me just a dismissive thing to me. And I looked at her and I didn't know. I just was starting life with Jesus. And I just said, listen, I just know that I pray for you. And I know you think I'm crazy. And there's just an absence of university education in me for me to believe all the things I believe. But I just want you to know, I just pray for you, and I hope someday you come to realize what I've come to know and love. And blew me away 25 years later when she walked up to a podium. I didn't even recognize her. And she said, you don't know who I am, do you? And I said, I'm sorry, I don't. You'll have to help me. She said, I was your 8th grade science teacher. I said, what? First thing came, what are you doing here in this church building? She was opposed to everything that was about. She said, you remember when you talked with me when you were in 8th grade? She said, I have a relationship with God now, too. She said, you need to know it had a huge impact on my life. My teacher now is in her 80s. She and I are correspondence partners. We write back and forth. She prays for me. I pray for her and her ministries, Mrs. Crabtree. It's just amazing what God did through just a teenage kid. What in the world? No wonder Augustine said, by one who loveth is another kindled. Lauren Cunningham, who founded Youth with Mission, said, the best evangelism in all the world is to love God with all your everything. Romans 12:11, never be lacking in zeal. Keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord, engaging Jesus, doing life with Jesus. Love God with all your everything. He said, and then someone else will learn how to do that same thing. And that's really what the best evangelism is. Listen, there is a widespread, enduring impact from the person who makes their greatest gift to this world, their intimacy with God. David, the psalmist, would tell you that. Some of you need to hear what I'm about to tell you. David knew what it was like to be overlooked and undervalued even by his own parent. When something important was going to happen for their family and they had a visitor, he was left outside. He wasn't even a part of the family powwow when others of his siblings who were thought more highly of were brought into a room to receive something that was going to be so cool and so awesome, and he's outside. Some of you have had a parental verdict over your life. You never do anything right, or you're never going to amount to anything, or I wish you'd have never been born, or whatever else. All we know is he got left out. And probably never forgot the fact that he was just viewed as too small, too insignificant, too unimportant. And even later on, after he'd started engaging God with all his heart, soul, mind, and strength, and doing life with God, we know that because when he comes onto a military scene and there's a giant that needs to be slain and brought down, this young whippersnapper who's really just supposed to be the lunch delivery boy, he's doing lunch delivery for the older brothers. And one of the older brothers, Eliab, so what are you doing here? Some of you have been looked down on by other people, sometimes people that you would have hoped would look up or at least highly value you. And you've lived with this kind of verdict. Listen, I understand. I struggled with myself. I was nicknamed Dwight the Fright. And I knew, I could read people's faces and body language. I knew what they thought of me. But I do know that when this began to happen for me, and this began to happen for me, it changed everything. And David would tell you that I just couldn't listen to those voices. I needed to listen to his voice. And so when he's facing Goliath, he's saying, as he becomes the conqueror, David, in that situation, he said, the Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion, the Lord who delivered me from the paw of the bear, the Lord will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. And eventually you have a whole kingdom turned around. And even this morning when we go to close our session and there's a song being played, you'll hear some of his very words that came out of his intimate time alone with God. What did David discover? That not only a few people, but many, many people, including ourselves thousands of years later, affected by somebody. Others have been affected by a young guy, overlooked, undervalued, not by God. And he leaned in and engaged God and others, including myself. I've read lyrics that he's written, and they have comforted and helped my soul. He understood that others are affected when you do life up close to God. And many of the things that he's written, lyrics of songs that we call psalms, help us. Even last night I was praying one of those, search me, O God, try me, see if there's any wicked way in me, lead me in the way everlasting. God said he's after my heart. That's why his life impacted others and still is today. You need to know if you want to lead a high-impact life. If you want to lead a high-impact life, this is the way. This is worth remembering. There are domino ripples. You've all lined up dominoes. There are domino ripple effects from God-gazing, Christ-engaged kingdom laborers whose lives are fueled and fired by his love. There's a domino ripple effect through not just years, not just through decades. Some of you named people last night who have been the inspiration in your life, who have been in heaven a long time. And you named them by name in small groups last night. You were one of the others their life affected. There's a domino ripple effect by God-gazing, Christ-engaged kingdom laborers whose lives are fueled and fired by his love. You got a fourth finger. Let's put all four fingers up. What's the verse? It's James 4. And the verse says, come near to God. Now, keep it up. Keep it up. I want you to bring your other four up. If you've got other four, I know maybe not all of us have all digits, but if you do, put the other four up. Now, I want you to know that the verse that you're quoting from James 4, the verse is verse 8. It's verse 8. It's James chapter 4, verse 8. It's James chapter 4, verse 8. Say it with me. It's James chapter 4, Verse 8. Now watch this. I want you to do this. I want you to know that when you come near to God, He will come near to you. When you come near to God, He will come near to you. That's the rest of verse 8. Come near to God, and He will come near to you. Some of you have struggled with coming near to God. You need to know that point number 4 for you who are note takers is God is your source of strength. Look at me. Strength, strength, strength. Where does my strength come from? Comes from Him. And when I come near to Him and God comes near to me, suddenly there's strength. When you lock in with Him, strength begins to happen. Strength comes to your life like you've never experienced before. Some of you, you're walking around weak. Look at that finger. That's your weakest digit. That's your weakest digit. And you walk around in life weak, so weak, because you don't understand. You sometimes feel your weakness and you're trying to do life in all your strength, but your strength is weak. When His strength is strong, you were taught a song at the beginning. I am weak, but He is what? So why don't you come near to God and He will come near to you? Do you know Adrian loves to share the phrase, and I picked it up years ago from him, that I am a toothpick, but I'm duct taped to a lead pipe. I might be a little toothpick, but I'm duct taped to a lead pipe. You need to know that this is what you will need to endure. God is your source of strength. And when you come near to Him, He will come near to you. That's the whole verse. You just memorized a verse out of the Bible. Congratulations. But some of you are thinking, but I struggle with that because I'm such a rascal. So you're a rascal? You know, if I could march Peter in here, if I could just pull him out of heaven for a minute, Peter, he'd look at you and go, me too. That's the first thing I told Jesus on the first day we met. I actually didn't say rascal. I said, I'm a sinner. And you know what He said to me? Come near to me. Come follow me. Let's do life together. Come be with me. And I'll be with you. And Peter, I'm going to give you a new name. It's going to be Rock, because you're going to be a toothpick duct taped to a lead pipe. And the most important thing about you is, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? And I'll ask you that over and over again, because when you do, when that really cements and you're coming near to me and I'm coming near to you, Peter, you're going to be blown away with what I'm going to do with a first century fisherman. It's going to blow your mind. I'm going to be your source of strength. Peter would tell you that's the way things started for him, and didn't just start. He bumbled around a lot. After 3 years in an aggressive hands-on training program, he was still kind of bumbling around. I don't even know who he is, he said one day. But he came back near. And when he did, the whole book of Acts, which is one of my favorite books, started happening. I'm such a rascal. He wouldn't want me. Oh, you know, Paul, would you come out of the heavens as a cloud of witnesses? Would you come right now and tell him? I'll speak on Apostle Paul's behalf. Hey, if there's a club of sinners, I'm the president of the club. In fact, if there's a tribe called sinners, I'd be the chief. That was Paul. So I'm confused. I thought they were holy men. I thought they were great men. They were men of a great God. They were men of a great God. They came near to God, and He came near to them over and over and over again. They understood their source of strength. They wrote to you about it over and over again in their writings. God is our strength. He is our help. Some of you, you've allowed your feelings about yourself that you're a rascal to create distance between you and God because you feel ashamed, you feel unworthy. Can I help you get over yourself? You need to get over yourself. Your eye is on your sin, not on your Savior. Would you change your gaze? The accuser of the brethren, according to Scripture, is Satan. And he keeps trying to make you look at how weak. Look at that little finger, how weak you are. How weak you are. Look at you. Look what you did. Look at that mistake you made. Look how many times you da-da-da-da-da. He is called the accuser of the brethren. You know what you need to do as that toothpick over here? You need to go, but I'm going to come near to God, and he's going to come near to me. And you keep doing that over and over and over again. I'll tell you, we have mountain lions. They're real. I'm a Coloradan. We have mountain lions in Colorado. Do you know, if you're a parent and you have little ones, when you're hiking with them, you don't want to get too much distance between you and your little one, because the enemy's looking for when there's enough distance, not closeness with, but distance from, that mountain lion believes that that's the time to come in and prowl and snatch. You want to be careful about distance. You want to come near to God, and he will come near to you. You want to stay there, because there is an enemy prowling around seeking whom he might devour. So listen, I want you to know that if you'll keep doing that, not your eye on your weakness, but your eye on your Savior, he will continually come near to you. Dwayne Pottinger, Rhonda, I will never forget, because the word endure also is with engage. When we were, 30 minutes to an hour apart from each other in Pennsylvania, and somebody comes running into the auditorium, and you've had a grand mal seizure as one of our Forge Kingdom Building Ministries itinerants on a stage, and I get to the hospital, and you guys are finding out that brain cancer is now a reality in your lives. And we walk through, not weeks, not my years, 50 weeks you're told you're going to live. That was 32 years ago. Praise God. 50 weeks. But there's been a lot of hard along the path. A lot of hard. Well, look at me, you two. You have come near to God, and he has come near to you. 5 brain surgeries, 1 stroke, and you keep coming near to God. I watched Yolanda last night. Come near to God, and he will come near to you. I will tell you, still in my office, and I cherish it, because I've faced some, not brain cancer, I've just faced some times where the enemy prowling around wanted to take me out, and I needed to come near to God and let him come near to me to get me through that hard time. And you handed me something, and it was, I don't know if you remember this, I have it in my office. When you get to the end of all you have, that's when you'll know he is all you'll ever need. He is your source of strength. That 4th point, he's your source of strength. Those of you in the room who are testimonials, what's the one word that you would say he's been a source for you? What kind of source? Could you give me a word? And this is speak some words out to me. If this isn't, we're not doing small group. We're going to do something different this morning. So let me just ask you right now, if you've been through some hard times and you came near to God and he came near to you, what would be one word that you would describe of his coming near to you? What's one word? Somebody speak a word out. Freedom, strength, power, peace. No, whoa, slow down. I want everybody to hear this, because if this is a new thing for you, those of you who are watching, if this is a new thing to come near to God, you need to know these are benefits that happen when he comes near to you. He brings you, I heard freedom, I heard peace, I heard, what was the other one? Fullness, strength, what was that? Safety, comfort. Over here, give me some over here. What was it? Perseverance, joy. The joy of the Lord is our strength, life, assurance, wisdom, never ending. Are you trying to tip me off that this is going to go on and on and on, Chris? You're right, it will, because all of us here know this is true. When you come near to God, he answers. He said through his prophet Jeremiah, call to me, and I'll answer you, and I'll show you great and unsearchable things, Jeremiah 3:33. You need to know when you come near to God, he will come near to you. And whatever the provisions are that he knows you need, he is a delivering on-time God, and he will get you through. When you get to the end of all you have, you will find out he's all you ever need. Come on. Come near to God. He will come near to you. That's James 4:8. That's the God I know. That's the God I love. So why does he have to ask the question through his prophet Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 21? Who is he? Who is she who will devote themselves to be close to me? Who is he? Who is she who will devote themselves to be close to me? Close. Oh, Max, you're going to love this. My buddy, my friend, I love you. I love the scientific mind God gave you. Max is a water chemist, and I just decided I heard one of our Forge speakers who isn't here this week, Britton Bishop. He had charged our Forge equipping students, and he was talking to me the night before, and he said, Dwight, I just want to be a blue flame. I want to be a blue flame lover of God. And I said, wow, that's really cool. That's really cool, Britton. I don't think I've ever heard you say that before. Have you said that before? He said, no, I haven't said that before. I said, you should say that more. In fact, you probably ought to preach a message on blue flame love. He said, whoa. I think the next day he might have talked to you guys about blue flame love. He went back and thought about it. Max, I looked up in the physics fact book. Isn't that awesome? I mean, you scientific people, in the physics fact book, the encyclopedia of scientific facts, I looked up and found out that flames have different areas of temperature. And the temperature is separated by different regions. And those different regions have different colors. And the blue region of the fire is the innermost part, where it's the hottest. No wonder God said, I have this against you. You've lost your first love. And he said, you're lukewarm. You're somewhere out here, and I really want you into the blue flame area. I want your heart to be hot. Do you know what Scripture tells you? It tells you out of your innermost being will flow rivers of living water. That's why there's a long-term enduring impact of a godly life. They're blue flame people. You want to be a blue flame person? Let me help you out with something that came straight from Jesus. So I'm going to train you right now, very quickly, to go out of here in about 10 to 12 minutes and have a blue flame opportunity with God, you and God. So you're going to want to grab a notepad because you want to take notes, because I'm going to give you some instructions here. If you're not a note taker, pull your phone out. Are some of you using the Forge app? You could just open the sermon notes section of the Forge app and just put it down in the Forge app. So I want to help you with how to have a date with God, because Jesus' whole passion was to show the guys how to keep the flame blue, how to keep hot, how to stay enduring to the end. In fact, so much so that, we all know that one of his dates alone with God was in a garden called the Garden of what? Gethsemane. And you love that story that he went into that place and he had extended time with God. That's what a date with God is. A date with God is extended time with God. Write that down, because you're about to have a date with God. So a date with God is extended time alone with God. He went with his buddies, but he pushed back from his buddies and said, why don't you try to tarry 1 hour back here, and I'm going to go up here because I need some alone time with God, because there's probably something ahead that's going to be so hard I'm going to need to come near to God, and I'm going to need him to come near to me, because I'm going to need to get to the point where I can say, not my will, but thy will, and he's going to be my source of strength to be able to do it. The cross was enabled by his date alone with God in the garden. But that wasn't the first and only date. In fact, Luke 5:16 tells us that Jesus often, not occasionally, it says he often slipped away to be alone in solitary places with God. It was a pattern of his life, because to endure all the way even through the cross, it was going to take continually coming near to God and letting God come near to him and supply everything that was needed for what was ahead. With and there would be kingdom explosions of cool stuff that would happen after Jesus would spend time alone, apart from everybody else. So first thing you want to know is that a date with God is extended time, and it's in a location other than your room. Don't go back to your room. You'll think you need to fold clothes that you left all messed up. Don't go back to your room, because you'll look in the mirror and think you got to redo your makeup. Don't go back to your room. Don't go back to your room. Go someplace that won't tell you that you have other things to do. And for some of you, you say, that won't matter. I'll think of a million things I need to do. You know what I keep in front of my Bible all the time? I keep a Post-it pad. This is called my diversion list. And every time Satan tries to interrupt my date alone with God with something that I need to do, I just put it on my to-do list and I shove it aside. I'll get to that later. I'm here to be with God. I'm here to engage. I'm here to be with him. So use a diversion list. Just if stuff comes up in your mind, I can't. He loves to interrupt and make you feel responsible. The only responsibility you have right now is to have extended time alone. So go someplace. I love nature. If we had a rainy day, then I'd tell you, like, go find that snack cafe down there and find a corner of it. I have one lady that said, there is a coffee shop that is my Garden of Gethsemane coffee shop. She said, when I go there, God, and I've had so many dates there, I can tell you there's a Panera Bread, and I'm not going to tell you locals which one. There's a Panera Bread that the architect made a mistake in our city, and I know where the architect made a mistake, and there's room for only one back in a corner. There's a table for one. And I turn my back to the rest. I don't even know they're all there. I just know I can keep getting coffee refills at Panera. I can keep getting coffee refills, and God and I are having a time there. For some of you, you need to know that you're outdoor nature lovers. I love having dates alone with God in nature because nature speaks. God's creation is there, but don't become just an appreciator of the creation. Thank the Creator for what he's made. Say, what do you want to tell me through what I'm looking at? What are the things you want to remind me of? So you want to find a place that is a right place for you and push back from others. Now, here's what you need to know. We've packed a little something for you today, but I'm going to tell you what your equipment is. Your equipment first is you either want a God bag, a box, or a book bag, whatever. But we've got a little paper bag for you today that we're going to give you, and you might decide you want to put some other things in it. But you want to take a bag with you, and here's what you're going to put in that bag or your backpack. So you want a backpack. I have a guy that says, I call it my God box. He said, I have a box that doesn't all fit right in my bag. So I take a God box on my date alone with God. And he said, I'm putting stuff in that box for weeks before, because the second thing you need to know about a date with God, we've scheduled your first one. It's today. But today you want to schedule your next one. Nobody will schedule it for you. So today, before you leave your date with God, schedule your next one. It might be a Saturday morning somewhere out in your future. It might be a Sunday afternoon. It might be a Monday night. But schedule a next date with God today. Why would I do that? Because Jesus often slipped away, and he's trying to set an example for you of how to come near to God. Here's the equipment you want to have with you today. First one, of course, you want to have your Bible. Now let me help some of you. Some of you, you really struggle with reading. So maybe you want to take your electronic Bible and you want to push the audio Bible and listen to the audio Bible and listen, because you're an auditory learner. You want to listen to the scriptures. For some of you, you might just want to go back over the verse you memorized this morning and look at it straight in there. Look at it a little bit more. Look at James 4:8 and go on to verse 4:9. Verse 4:10, you may want to, in fact, you could read the whole book of James. You have time. It's 5 chapters. You can read the whole book of James. You might even 5-star one of the verses. You know, when I 5-star verses, it's like 5-star hotels. Ooh, that's a really good one. Ooh, I like that verse. I'm going, man, I'm going to take that verse with me. I'm going to keep track of that verse. You might want to memorize a verse today. I helped you with one. You might want to memorize another. On your date alone with God, how many of you you've been with a friend, you were in the car, a song came on the radio, and now every time you hear that song, you think of that time. How many of you had a song take you back to a time and a place? For some of you, a verse you memorize on your date alone with God may take you back to when you were in Colorado, you were in the Rocky Mountains, you memorized that verse, you remember that date alone you had with God when you came near to him, he came near to you. Second thing you want to take along with you is a notebook. You want to take a notebook with you. Why would you take a notebook? Let me ask you a question. How many of you feel like you wouldn't want my role, like you wouldn't want to be the speaker tonight, but you would say, I really do better. I express myself better in, like, when I'm writing. How many of you would say you express yourself better when you write? Hands up. I want to see how many, because usually it's about half the room. You express yourself better when you write. Okay, so it's about half the room here too. So you want to take a notebook. For some of us, we want to express ourselves to God. You may want to write a letter to God. You haven't done that before. You may want to, I remember I wrote these kind of long letters to him, and things came out of my heart that needed to come out of my heart in coming near to God. So you may want to write a letter to him today. You may want to just sit there for a moment and ask him if there's anything he wanted to tell you, and you're there taking notes. Be in a writing position. Lord, is there anything you want to tell me? Some of you, you do better, this way on your phone. So go ahead, write the letter that way. I remember one day doing an email to God in an airplane, and I was looking out the window, and I went, I've emailed all my friends. I've never emailed God. And you're thinking, that's ridiculous. He doesn't have an email address. If he did, I'd know it. I just know that every word that I was emailing, he was reading as it was coming out of my heart to him. See, you sound so ridiculous. Yeah, I'm ridiculously crazy in love with my number one first love. It dawned on me later after I'd learned how to use my thumbs that I hadn't texted him. And I text everybody else. If you're involved in my life, you've gotten a text from me, audio text or, Pastor Caleb will tell you I text too many words. My texts are too long. Text God. If that's a way you communicate, you need to get over, because love is communication. You want to communicate to God today. You want to write thoughts. For some of you, you ought to do the alphabet. Lord, you are A. What's an A word? Lord, you are A. Amazing. Lord, you are B. Beautiful. One girl said bodacious, and I said, I don't know what that is. She said, oh, trust me, he is. He's bodacious. Lord, you are C. Caring. Lord, you are D. Yeah, and you're saying different words because he is different things to us. Why don't you just worship him with the alphabet today? You go, well, what do I do when I get to Q and Z? Well, it might be a little bit of a challenge, but I bet that'd be an okay challenge for you. Just push yourself. Maybe you want to use the alphabet. Lord, you are A. You are awesome. Lord, you are B. You're bold and beautiful. Lord, you are C. You are caring and compassionate. You don't treat me as my sins deserve. Lord, you are D. Delightful. Lord, you are E. Excellent beyond words. Like, I don't even understand your excellence. All the way. Some of you are going, well, that might work for me, but music is really my way. Like, how many of you would say music helps you express yourself better than anything else? Like, music is your way to kind of express yourself. So take music with you today. Take music with you. Some of you might like to ask somebody, what's a song I haven't heard that really has ministered to you? I always take music on my dates alone with God, because sometimes, I'm reading something and then I just need to pull my earbuds on. And yes, God, I feel, how many of you, a song is played and you've gone, that says exactly what I think. That is exactly how I feel. So go ahead and play that song and let that be a way that you're ascribing to the Lord the glory due his name. But for some of you, you ought to sing a new song. You heard Charlie last night attempting to sing a new song. Do you know what? The one who every parent loves to hear, they don't know how their kid could be the worst singer on the planet, but every parent loves to hear their kid. God loves to hear you. Don't you worry about how melodic it is. Make a joyful noise. Charlie can make a joyful noise. And you make a joyful noise. Make a joyful noise unto, it says, unto the Lord. Sing to the Lord. Don't sing because you're not singing for other people. You're not even singing for yourself. Sing to him. That might be 2 phrases. You just sing them over and over again. Sing a new song to the Lord. Take worship music in with you. Fourth thing you want to take is intentional prayer. I take my prayer list or a prayer book. When I say a prayer book, it's the people that I have on a list I'm praying for. For you, it might be you need to start your list for the first time. God's been telling you who the others are in your life, and you need to today, during your date, pray for those others by name. You ought to be able to look at some people in your life and say, I prayed for you. I'm praying for you. It might even be before your date is over. You message somebody, I've been praying for you today. Out of your time with God, you're praying for others. Fifth thing that you want to take is, I think, is a little spiritual growth book. For some of you, this whole idea of a date with God is so new for you. So you might want to take the little booklet called Is God Waiting for a Date with You? I don't know what our staff has done. Maybe it's in your bag. If it's not, and by the way, those of you who are other language speakers, we've got this in lots of languages. There's French version, Spanish version, English version. I think there's about to be an Urdu version. There's other versions out there, Hindi version. So, but the other one you might want to take is Up Close, which is just a place for you to be able to write things down that God's revealing to you or you're expressing to him. So I sometimes take something with me in addition to my Bible. 6, are we on number 6? 6th thing you want to take, and you're going to think I'm a heathen, because some of you think that fasting is so important, and I think it's important too, and I do it, but not on my dates. Because food, my son told me this, Dad, You know the guys who wrote the love language books missed one. Food's a love language. And most of you agree. So I'm out here to come near to God. So we packed some food for you today. And you might want to even hit the snack area and throw a couple. Some of you've got a bigger appetite. Why do I do that? Because food is synonymous with a good time. My wife can tell you, if we're having a great time, there's probably going to be a little food around and a little beverage. So when I'm out there and I'm spending time with God, I want food to be present. Now, this is the other thing I do. Some of you are watch wearers, some of you aren't, but those of you, whether it's a smart watch or just a regular watch, I always take my watch off because this is extended time alone with God. I don't have to clock watch. Have you ever been talking to somebody and they keep looking at their watch and you just like, hey, listen, if you need to be somewhere, you go ahead. But this is an extended date with God. You're not in a hurry. So just take it off and say, Lord, I'm just so excited. There's no rush. I just get to relax and be with you. Some of the relationships that are the strongest in your life are strong because you've spent time with. And I would tell you, this is a wonderful thing to take the timepiece off and say, that's behind me. You're in front of me. I want to be a God-gazing, engaged with Jesus, kingdom labor, who's going to impact others. Duct tape to a lead pipe. I want to come near to you, God, and let you come near to me. Let me tell you, I've had dates where sometimes I just do a walk and talk with God. Some of you, you're kinesthetic learners, and it's better for you if you're walking and talking to God. You don't do well when your eyes are closed. The Apostle Paul, when he said pray without ceasing, he wasn't telling you walk around and run into walls. He was telling you practice the presence of him with you. So if you see something like I remember seeing one dude in Honduras, I taught how to do a date alone with God. And I'm out in a little forest area and I look down to where the buildings are because I heard a noise. And there was a guy down there playing music. And I thought, well, that Honduran, he's playing music. He kind of gets it. Music helps him express. And then I saw him taking his shoes off. And I saw him starting to move. Now, I don't know how to move. I did a DNA test that tells me only 20% of my DNA ancestry can move with any synchronization that makes sense. So I'm off the hook. But I watched this guy, and this guy started moving. And the next thing I knew, almost like David before the Ark of the Covenant, he was literally running off walls and doing all these cool things, and he was dancing before the Lord. Now, I'm not that guy. I don't know how to do that. But he was enjoying God in that moment. At the end of the day, people were saying, one of them said, well, I took some stones and I built a little altar with those stones. And I just brought my whole self, Romans 12, I brought my whole self before God. And I just went from my feet, Lord, everywhere my feet go, I want to be with you and I want you to shine forth through me. And he said, I just kept going through, I don't want weak, feeble knees. I want to stand strong for you. And he said, I just kept going through my whole being. I wanted to offer my whole self to God at a little altar of rocks that I built. So have fun today. Maybe you're going to be reading the book of James and you got your little snack there. Ooh, God, that's good. Ooh, that might be a 5-star verse. And oh, I'm so glad food's a part of this. You're the bread of life. I'm feasting on you too. This is awesome. Then you go for a little walk with him and you're listening. You put those earbuds on and maybe you just lay back in the grass there and you're looking up and go, yeah, God, that's the way I feel about you. Yeah, I wish I could sing as good as them, but that's my heart. That's the way I feel about you. That's okay too. That's a joyful noise unto him. So you might want to take your watch off and just enjoy him. Listen, why did I go through all of this stuff with you today? Because you wouldn't be sitting in this room. You wouldn't be a part of a ministry that has been hopefully helping or impacting your life. If it hadn't been for a long time ago, God saying, Dwight, you might have been nicknamed Dwight the Fright. But if you'll engage me as your number one, first love, and you will do life with me, I promise you, others will be impacted. And whenever you feel weak, you just keep coming near to me. And I will come near to you, and I will be your source and your strength. In Spanish bullfighting rings, they have a place called querencia. Querencia is where the bull is trying to find in the ring. The matador is trying to make sure the bull doesn't find that place. For every bull, it's a different spot in the ring. It's this place in the ring where that bull will feel this. And the matador is trying to keep the bull moving, keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. which is the enemy trying to keep you moving, keep you moving, keep you moving, keep you away from Jesus' pattern of coming near to God that he might. And so the matador tries to keep the bull moving, but every now and then that bull will find that spot, and everybody watching will realize that as that bull finds that spot, you will see his nostrils flare. You will see his muscles begin to rise. You will see something happening in that bull that the matador begins to quake, because he knows what that bull has just found is carencia. And it's the undoing of every matador. Today's your opportunity to experience coming near to God and him coming near to you. Lord, I pray that as we listen to this closing song and we launch out into our date alone with God, some of us have children, so we'll be dutifully picking them up at 11:30, but we may have a spouse here we could trade off and extend each other's date with you. Some of us might want to go snack for a while on the bag of food that's out here in the lobby, and then we want to go get a little more food because we need a little more nutrition, but then we're going to go back out and be with you because we didn't schedule anything today, but just wide open space for you. So we thank you that you are our source. And as we listened to one person just giving us their greatest gift, their intimacy with you, let it be what we give our world, starting in a fresh new way with first love, blue flame love for you.